say.
Yeah, so
teaching
how they perceive it and experience it.
Exactly. I had a hard time, first of all, not being the one on stage. I wanted to be the one going on stage, still dancing. And then also when you're teaching, like, I don't know, a group of 12, 2, 3, 4, 5-year-olds, I think I taught up to age 12. And they all have, each age group has their own thing, right? So some of that, most of them don't really listen well, and you're just like, this is fine. So anyways, when I started teaching Pilates, I was like, this is great. This man is listening to what I'm saying,
right?
And doing what I want him to do. So very quickly, I was like,
so you like the control, you like the attention.
I'm a Capricorn, if you didn't know. But anyway, the studio I did my very first STOT training with was, they hired me right away. The Pilates Body in Port Credit.
Oh, yeah.
Saga. And so, hi, Jean. And what was I going to say? So, I just almost lost my train of thought.
Like how they teach, and like you like because they actually listen, and then you got the job at Pilates Body.
Yeah. And so, that's what I was going to say. So, coming from that dancer's background, I really loved the freedom in coming in today and being like, I'm going to go. Like, I liked to go with the flow. I was never one to write my classes out beforehand, probably because I had that dance background. I'm not sure. But I love to just come in, feel the room. How are we feeling today? Let's start with this, and then just let the creative mind flow. And it was so fun for me and really enjoyable. And, I know a lot of my clients also appreciated and loved it as well.
Yes.
I kept coming back. But, that's what I was going to say, kind of circling back, was it wasn't until I did my classical training, my first round of classical training anyways, that I started to really appreciate the system. Because beforehand I would say, like, why do you want to do the same exercises every day or every class? Like, isn't that boring? Or, and now I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing. And, I have so much appreciation for the whole system and how it works and everything. But, your body is different. You're always changing. If you didn't sleep well last night, I have a weird thing I'm feeling up in here. I really need to see an osteopath. Everything is closed, so I'm making it work. But, I can feel that. And so doing certain exercises, like, I'm probably not going to go overhead today. Whereas 2 days ago, beautiful, no problem. Great rollover, Kelsey. But I really started to appreciate it, which I think I told you more recently, was since having a baby. So for those who don't know, my daughter is going to be I almost said 18 months. That's not true. She's going to be 11 months next week, or this week, the 18th. So she's almost 1.
Yes.
And so, last May had my very first baby, which was a really great experience. I was not one of those people who liked being pregnant. Because I'm such a, I don't know, high functioning, overactive go-getter, love to move. So, having physical restrictions for the first time in my life.
From the inside out.
Didn't love it. I was like, oh, this is not for me. I couldn't even go for a walk for more than like 15 minutes without having to pee. Like, it was just like, my God, like, this is just, and I'm thinking, Mariella, I'm thinking, how do people love this? But I'm so lucky, so grateful, all of that jazz. But anyways, since having, her name is Edie. So since having Edie, it's been really cool because I've gotten to, for the first time truly, I've been able to put myself through the system literally from the beginning. Because let me just tell you, I'm gonna say I got on my reformer here about a month after she was born, which some people might say, are you crazy? But it's me. I'm like, a little crazy. So I'm like, feeling okay. I need to move, I need more than just a walk around the house. And so I got on the reformer, just a little bit of gentle footwork and some feet and straps. I was thinking, just mild, rehab, whatever.
Yes. And
oh my God, putting my feet in the straps. I forget how many people I've told this story to. I have never in my life felt this, like, I'm not even sure how to describe it. I was going to say,
disconnection,
but it's more like, it's like you feel you do not have the physical strength to hold your feet in the straps. And you
Yes.
feel guys all the way up into the whole pelvic floor. And, you know, I have a wonky pelvis from my hypermobility. And so I felt the left side more than the right. And I was just, honest to God, my feet were literally maybe at most hip distance apart. And I was like, oh my God, like, you know, when you have those people on the reformer, maybe it's their first time and they start seeing, they can't.
Yeah,
they
like no proprioception, no real control. Like there's like, I think
That's
you
how I
called
felt.
it,
And it
like
was,
you said, like there's like this disconnect, right? Like there's
oh
a
my
little,
God.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and
Sorry,
so,
Kelsey, hold on a second. My headphone just like,
oh no, that's dancer's background. I used to be a contortionist. Like I was the girl who, or that person who, you asked me to do something, here it is.
You can do it. Yeah.
You know,
Even
and
strength
I
stuff
really loved
too.
that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really loved that though. I was like, oh, this is what we're doing? No problem. Watch me. I'll do it. You know?
Yeah.
But again, you know, that's actually something else I have to say. Circling back, when I did my very first classical class, that was another humbling experience. And I remember because it was just after Joanne, you remember Joanne DeCourt, she just finished her, I think she did Peak
2, right?
Yeah.
Her master trainer. Yeah.
I think she was doing her like master instructor training or something. And anyway, she would practice teach on myself and whoever else was around or willing. Because, you know, some people still had it in their head, like, oh, the order. And I was like, no, teach me. Like, yes. But I was also like, free workout. Like, yeah, okay. And so I will never forget, I mean, the whole experience in itself, but I mean, specifically exercises like elephant. You know, coming from a STOT background, the program is great. I think it's good for a lot of things. And I'm really, really glad I did that training before entering the classical world for so many reasons, you know, especially.
Absolutely. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Like, I like, there's so much benefit to that. So I follow you on that. Yeah.
Really, so I'm really, really grateful that, you know, everyone says that everything happens for a reason, just kind of go with the flow. Like I totally did that and it like really worked out for the best, at least for me, in my opinion. But anyway, you know, being overly flexible, obviously long hamstrings and whatever, doing elephant for me was like, you know, some people would say, oh, what a nice stretch. And I would just be like, like, watch me moving the carriage. Like, no problem. Like, I honestly was like, what's the point of this exercise? I never understood. And that's just one of many. Hi, Dervala. That was one of many exercises, you know, from the contemporary world originally. I was like, what's the point of this? You know, and I would almost be like, same with stomach massage. I'd be like, I'm not going to teach this because I don't get it. And so when I first did my, I guess, first classical class, and not as a teacher, just, you know, like I said, Joanne was teaching me. I remember she took me, she moved me so that, you know, my lower back became the apex, the highest point. And she said, you know, use your glutes to push and use your abs to pull, something along the lines. And I was just like, pardon? I'm like, what? And so I'm like, okay, listening, doing what she says. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy shit, this is actually, I feel my abs.
This is actually good exercise.
That I thought was like a stretch, you know?
Right. Yeah. And
so my mind was blown. And immediately at that time I was hooked because I was like, I need more of this in my life. One of the coolest things I think along my, I guess, postpartum journey is, so, you know, due to my hypermobility, I have SI joint issues. So on and off, depending on what I'm doing, or did I overdo something or whatever, you know, it'll lock, or just, you know, you just get a lot of pain. So you have to go see your osteopath. And anyways, so I'm one of those people who, you know, for me, anything prone with legs together, forget it. There's no way. And like I would try to do it and then I would just end up with more SI joint pain or just the locking because I'm moving from the wrong places.
The wrong places, yeah. Right.
What's really cool is you know, since doing this, you know, I'm worked the beginner system, I'm moving into intermediate now. I'm playing around with some advanced stuff, but I'm like, just don't go there yet. Like, hold your horses.
No,
I have to hold myself back because I'm feeling more like myself. But the coolest thing is, and this is, I will say again, another perk of having all of our lockdowns here, is it forces me, and I mean, I'm privileged, I have a reformer here, but I'm teaching all these mat classes, and a lot of them I'm actually teaching, or I'm doing them myself, because you know, normally in a studio setting I would just walk around the room, but because it's virtual, because, you know, I don't know, there could be a delay or your sound is off, I've had people say to me, can we watch you, like we want to make sure, you know, so they want that visual. I'm like, fine. Okay. So, you know,
if I must perform.
I know, if I must. Okay. But, you know, so since I've been doing those classes, and I started them the beginning of January. So I got to say, like probably everyone, I've never done so much mat work in my life. Never, you know, so that's been fun. But what's really cool is, you know, now on a good day, because, you know, every day is different. On a good day, I can keep my legs together for anything prone. And I'm like, I feel strong here, and I feel the full connection of my powerhouse now, which before I didn't have. And, you know, I do know people, right, Alini? I see that. But like, you know, and I know some people I've taught over the years, and I've said, I'm like you can do this. Like, it's not going to happen overnight, but you know, if we keep working at it, like just try to bring them a little closer, or, you know, even use a mini ball between your ankles if you need to, like get those inner thighs to work for you. And, you know, some people are just straight up like, no, I can't. I have an SI joint issue. And I'm like, that's fine. I used to kind of be like that until I realized you can change your body if you keep doing Pilates and you
imagine that.
It's amazing.
Right.
So it's really cool, you know, like my timing really worked out. Baby, COVID, everything at once. Then just starting an office, I'm like, what else can I add to my plate?
I know it.
Totally worked out. So I'm really glad for that. And
absolutely.
I always say, you never stop learning. It's just amazing. I think every day I'm like, you know, I'll see somebody post some connection between, I think I saw, I forget who posted it. I think it was yesterday. Someone posted something like, you know, doing double leg stretch and the connection with the teaser. And I was just like, I never even thought of that. Like, you know, I love seeing
and discovering those things, right? Like
connection between exercises. And, you know, once I find them or discover them, or they come across me somehow, I will teach them to my clients. I'm like, you guys, look, this is the same shape as this. Don't you get it now?
Yes, I know. It's funny
so
that you say shapes, because like that word almost is interesting. Like in that context, that's great. Like that shape is that shape. But then the other context is almost dangerous for someone like you who being contortionist. Like it was easy for you to do the shape of the elephant, but not actually feel the elephant. So I'm trying in my own practice to get deeper into an exercise instead of trying to make an exercise harder.
Nice. But see, like, and I totally get that. You know, when I say shape, in my head, like, that's probably the word I use. I have a lot of beginner clients, and for me, and I mean, probably, I'm sure you and probably every Pilates teacher can understand this, like, when you're teaching spine stretch forward, because I feel like almost everybody thinks like, or everyone does yoga and everyone thinks like they're just the same. And I shouldn't say everyone, you know, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of, you know, misinformation or confusion, I think, out there. And so my biggest thing, because again, for me and my body, it was one of those mind-blowing light bulb moments when somewhere along the line, I think it was Monica, my mentor, who said something like, you know, pull your abs off of your thighs or something, like don't fold. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm thinking, yeah, duh, like folding, especially for someone like me.
Right. You can fold yourself in them.
Kiss my shins, watch me, like, you know.
Right.
And right. That's literally not the point of this exercise. And it just gets the mind, you know, moving in a different way.
Yes.
And so teaching a lot of beginner clients, especially just mat work, you know, spine stretch forward, it's one of those ones where I don't want them to do what I did, you know?
Yes.
And some
Don't
of
just
them,
fold yourself in half.
that hamstring stretch, but I'm
Yeah.
like, find your abs. So, you know, I'll like show them for a sec, like, hey, look at me on my back. I'm reaching, I'm trying to touch my toes.
Mhm.
See how this is the same shape as
Yes.
and it's the idea of getting your abs to work as if you were doing one of those like ab touch your toes things, you know,
Yes.
exercise, basic ab exercises.
Mhm.
And then here you are, you're doing the same thing. You're
In
just
different orientation.
gravity. So you have to really think about using your abs, which I just, that was one of those moments for me, or those exercises even where I was like, whoa, this is amazing,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I love your excitement for the work, considering you started doing this when you're 18.
I know, right? Well, and that's funny because I, no word of a lie, broken record, I tell everyone, clients are not like all the time, how you just never stop learning, you never stop growing, it's always changing. And, you know, if I knew what I know now, I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't have taught that athletic conditioning class at Lifetime. And, you know, as great
Right.
as that class was, and I understand the logic
Mhm.
behind it and why we were like, this is a good idea. It's not that it's not a good idea. It's
No.
just now looking back, I'm thinking, well, I would have just taught, you know, the system.
The system.
Because even like circle back to like my example with my dad, I think he had done contemporary reformer, probably only reformer actually, maybe some tower, for years. And,
Yes.
you know, now that he is doing 2 to 3 times a week classical mat, and don't get me wrong, because a lot of my clients come from a contemporary background, or that's what they think that they like the best, and maybe they don't
Mhm.
really know.
Yeah.
I'll have 1 or 2 props classes where, you know, it's still basically classical, you just don't tell them it is, you know. So they
Right.
just think,
They know
oh,
now.
on Tuesdays we do this, and on
Yes.
Wednesdays we do that, but really you're still doing the same thing.
Right.
You know, on how to remove a few, you know, as you
Yeah,
do.
for sure. Variables. You just play with the variables.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, it's like, and now look at him. Now he is like, hey, I'm a better swimmer, or my bike, he bikes too. What doesn't he do, right? For a guy with a whatever ankle replacement, he's really active, which
That's
is good.
great.
But what was I gonna say? Yeah, so it's nice that now he's finally
Yeah.
understanding it in his body and in his life.
Yeah.
And this is what I've
It's
been trying to tell you forever.
right.
It's for optimal living. Like, do you want to live
Thank
that?
you.
No, it doesn't have to be like, oh, that's the only thing, only form of exercise. It's like, no, if
No.
you do this will
It's
make that
to
better. Did you?
exactly. It's to enhance your life. Ease of life is what ease of life is basically how Pilates would say it, right?
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah. I was gonna say though, it's interesting that now we know so much that you know what I'm saying? Like like I was introduced to Pilates through the contemporary system, so to speak, right? And two, I was taught the value of Pilates for men through a woman,
Yeah.
right? So
But no, it's true. I have to remind people sometimes, mostly like people like my dad, who are just that type of person who think Pilates is not for men. And then it's like, well, you know, Joseph Pilates, he was a dude. He made this. Like, you know,
right.
and actually, this is something I would get a lot, especially from my dad. We'll just keep using him as an example. He's not the only one. But, you know,
Yeah.
with the roll up, he would say, well, I'm a man. This is going to be harder for me because I'm not as small as all these women, or as small as you. Like, your frame is smaller. It's going to be easier for you.
Mhm.
And I'm like, yeah, but you know that Joseph Pilates was a man and he did it. You know, I just have to like throw him those like
Right.
sometimes.
Yes.
But lots of things like that. And so someone like him, he's obviously a competitive dude. He's like, oh, okay, challenge accepted.
Right.
Let me work on this. Let me get
Right.
back to you. And now he's so, I mean, I
Yeah.
gave him Cole, that helps. He's, you know, still a working beginner mostly, but still, I'm like, yeah, this is just what you need. That's fine. Like,
right, exactly. And then that's how I titled this is like challenge accepted.
yeah,
Like, I mean, like, for me, that was a challenge. And
yeah,
understanding how everyone, like what everyone's language is really
mhm,
helps too, right? Like I had a client who, when I introduced him to Pilates, he has like a psychology background as well. So he was able to give me some really good insight into how I was teaching and what he liked about what he didn't. And he basically said, you didn't give me enough successes.
oh, as in like, say you did a good job doing this, or like, great job.
Well, it's sort of like, I mean, it's not even necessarily like just like pandering to him and just patting him on the back every second, but more like, let me show you the exercise. And I'm not going to tell you that there's like 19 more variations of this exercise.
Right.
Let's do it. Okay, you got that? Good work. Here's the next exercise.
Yeah.
And instead of you're doing your roll up, okay, reach your hands. Okay, tuck that in. Make sure your head's back and then reach over here and reach. Can you reach further? And then roll back down, but keep your toes and reach for your heels. And okay, now the next exercise.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, did I even get one right before we're moving on? Like,
and you know what I think? I feel, because I've done that, and I find it happens to me when, you know, let's just say if I was in a certification or doing a workshop, and you learn so much, so you're so excited, like,
and you're downloading all of it.
Exactly. And then you just end up being like, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was one thing, you know, because I'm a big fan of finding the right words for the right people, the right cues. I mean, who isn't? But,
a lot aren't.
One of my strengths, I think I've always been really good at, you know, getting at least good cues for people to connect or to get what I want out of the exercise for them or their bodies. And, you know, when I started my training, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago with Power, one of the things I really liked about their training was they have this like teaching toolkit, and basically there's almost a structure or a format to what you're giving your client, like technique, flow, etc. At what level, how much. And it was learning how to, you know, hold back, give them one cue, let them go with it,
let them process it,
and then like see how we do next week or tomorrow, you know. So it's almost learning how to restrain yourself and hold back because you want them to, oh my God, you know, in 2 months from now maybe we can try the neck corkscrew 2 or what, you know what I mean? Like we can take that because then we can do this, like, because it's so exciting. Like, that's how I feel about it. I'm the sometimes I gotta hold back. I'm like, you know, because you don't want to turn them off either.
No, but like, you have this whole like trunk of exercise you want to give them.
I know.
On day one. Right?
I know. I'm like, I want to show you why this is amazing. You're new? Okay, great. Let me try not to overwhelm you with all of this information and like, amazing stuff.
Yes.
Oh, that's actually a challenge sometimes.
It's a challenge.
I think I'm getting better at it. But you know.
I had this gentleman, there's a husband and wife couple that's coming in right now, and the guy they're physio referrals, so I'm just trying to help him to understand the value of what he's doing and stuff. And then, you know, he was talking about something, and then I showed him one exercise, and he came out of it and his back felt so much better. And I was like, he's like, you know, this stuff's good, right? I'm like, I know it's good and it's good for you. Like, I was just like holding back, but like, oh, I want to give you so much more, right?
Yeah, oh, totally. I'm like, just wait, like you're exploding at the top.
Yep. Honestly. You know, when we connected, when was the last time you came in here? Like, when we come to see us too?
About that before this session or this chat started. I want to guess Edie was around 6 months.
Yes.
Because I feel like it was warm out. I think I came in wearing maybe shorts and like a tank top. Like in my head, it was something.
Details.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm pretty sure that's what I was wearing that day.
Yeah, the wind was coming in from the northwest at 32 kilometers.
And hot. I feel like it was hot in my car when I drove there. So I want to guess it was like end of summer-ish. So, or it could have been the start of fall, but it was like a warm fall day if so. Anyway, it was a few months ago.
I forget what my question is now because you went into so much detail about the location.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was a great session. You know, I will just say, even just coming back to how as teachers, you're always the student. You never stop learning. And, you know, even though, you know, we're all Pilates teachers, if you don't learn from the same person, you have there are nuances. There's things that are different. So
yeah.
I love doing sessions with, you know, anyone but myself, because I'm like, what can I learn? And I had
sure.
1 or 2 really great takeaways from our session that day. Like, I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but I just remember 1 or 2 things being like, oh, I know. One of the things you did, you took me onto the wall to do the 100. And, you know, I haven't done standing anything in forever. And here I am thinking, fuck, this is amazing. I'm like, I need this, especially right now, because my back and everything is still all like, ooh.
Yes.
Like, it was amazing. And it was a great way for me to connect to my powerhouse. And I could really feel that. And I was just like, damn, this is awesome, you know?
Nice.
So it's cool. Like, you know, some people are like, oh, I've been teaching for 500 years. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter how long you've been teaching for. You know, of course, the quality of your education, that matters. But I mean, you could be a brand new teacher and I will learn something from you probably, you know? Just really cool.
There was one of the guests, Gloria Gasperi was on, and she had this great line. She said, there's good teachers that have 5 exercises and bad teachers that have 5,000 exercises.
Yeah, yes, yeah, I totally understand that.
I was like, so good.
That actually, yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I mean, it's really easy to, especially because I will just circle back. I think I've always been a good teacher. I at least inspired you to teach. But you know, back, I taught from a different, I guess, perspective. It was more like, what can I do today to excite these people, or what's going to be a great transitional flow that I'm just gonna kind of make up on the spot, and it's going to be a great butt worker or an ab killer or whatever. And yes, that's true. But, you know, it's just completely different than following the system. And I think there's something about working the system or following the order that is really, really rewarding. And it's really cool that you know your clients understand and feel they're reaping the rewards, whether it's the A+ Olympic swimmer or or whatever, you know. And sometimes it's just little things like I said, I can keep my legs together now when I'm doing anything prone. Like, you know, for me, pulling straps on the long box was like one of my
nemesis
hated exercises. And this is coming from me, the ex-contortionist who used to bend in half and like love back extension, and doing anything, especially anything pulling straps, anything long box prone. It was like, get this over with. You know, the exercise wouldn't have even started yet. I'd be holding the straps and already my inner thighs are like dying. Like that's the point I was at. It was a lot of work for me to even try to keep my legs together on my stomach. Whereas now I feel a complete connection. And don't get me wrong, I have days where I'm like, this.
Yes. And Alice is like, yes, because we just worked out this morning and she was like dreading every second of pulling straps.
Long box, yes. Exactly. Yeah. Totally. I mean, I don't hate it as much as I did. You know what my new thing is? Knee stretches. Hate knee stretches right now. Right now, I'm like,
watch.
You know
when
you know when it's coming, and you're like, oh, and I'm like, just get it over with. Just get it over with. Just do it.
But Kels, that's the beauty of the order. Like, even as Joel's saying, like, you can't hide in the original order. And even when I was teaching like Tabata classes, I didn't change the exercises every single time because I wanted people to be able to be, okay, last time this exercise came up, I hated it and I couldn't do it. This time I got through it. So the order, I treat the order the same way too, where listen to your body and be, okay, last time you hated it. This time you hated it like a 7 instead of a 10, right? So, or whatever it is. So your body, like, you start to adjust, you start to adapt. And then at one point you can be like, look at that. We got through it today and you didn't complain when we were doing a long box. Like,
and that's rewarding.
That's rewarding.
That's the whole thing. And then you're like, yes, I did it. It's so amazing. so amazing.
So, and then the other piece too, I think this comes from maybe from my personal training background, is like there will be days that I'll do the order, and then there'll be days where I'll take the whole hour to teach them one exercise in the order.
Yeah.
So for, you know what I mean? So it could be like, it doesn't, like, we don't have to fly to the order every single time. It could be like, okay, today we're going to work on the long box series.
Yeah.
I know you hate it, but this is how we're going to help you
But
unpack it. And then maybe that's where like the contemporary exercises come in. Maybe that's when like exercises somewhere else in the whole gym comes in, so I can get lat engagement, or I can get this or whatever, so that next week when we come back and we do the order, we fly through that and we don't even spend time nitpicking on it. You can just see how your body moves now, right? So yeah. Yeah, and it's impossible to achieve flow if things change every time. Exactly.
Yeah. And again, like this whole process, or journey rather, I mean, like you said, since I started, whatever, 14-ish years ago, to now, like after just having a baby and putting myself through it, it's like, oh my God. You know, I remember teaching, obviously having training in pre and postnatal, of course. So I remember teaching many women during their pregnancies or even after they have their babies, and I knew what to do with them because I've done the work. I've done my courses or my certifications, but I had never been pregnant. I had never had a baby and then done the work that way. So as much as I knew or had a good idea of what is, you know, yes or no for someone,
right.
I didn't know that until I got to do that myself. So, you know, even for me, I think if they say you should stop lying on your back when you're pregnant around, I think it's 14-ish weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember, obviously, me, being like, no way. Like, I could still, like, I was still doing weekly reformer, barrel chair. I think, I'm trying to think what else I was doing or what I had access to at the time. But I was still doing full sessions until probably third trimester for me. And again, for me, that was a nice learning experience because I'm like, okay, I'm understanding why books say this. But I also know, you know, your body, especially.
Everybody is different.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, this is good for me to know. Like, I didn't know that. If I was my client before, I would have been like, get off your back. We're not doing that. You know, obviously stay on the safe side. Right, Alini? See? So yeah, that was, again, just another learning experience, you know?
Absolutely.
Explode with all of this new knowledge.
All you had to do was have a baby. That's
it.
Simple as that. Yeah. Well, and that's why I was really curious. Like when we met, like you're just this great mover, a great thinker, just really know your stuff. Okay, so now what is that going to look like when your body is telling you different? And it was from I know, you know, just understanding enough about doing my pre and postnatal and working with women through that. Like, you know, hormonal release, and you're already super bendy, and now you have all this relaxin in your body. Like, can you reel that in instead of, like, I mean, I'm working with athletes and trying to get them to get bigger range. You have range for days. Like, how do we control that? How do we pull that back in? So it was really intriguing for me to work with you and say, okay, what can your body do now? How has that changed? And, you know, even though we got like 6 minutes left, I also asked you just about your own like body image, right? Because being like super, you know, just super, super strong in a different way, your body changes. And then like, what was your perception of yourself, and how do you feel people perceive you? And then compassion for other women. That's a whole different thing, right?
Like being pregnant in general, it's a lot. But then, you know, when you take that and you're somebody like me, who's just, like I said, high functioning. I like to exercise. I like to move. I don't want to feel held back. Like, you know, due to hypermobility, I'm an avid ankle sprainer. Like, I'm working on it.
Avid.
I literally just sprained my ankle like weeks ago, and I was like, oh, great. And I'm like, you know, 2 days icing it, and I'm like, okay, it's like getting better. It's fine. I'm working stuff out. But, you know, I really hate being held back by something. And of course, you know, who doesn't? No one wants to be injured. And for me, being pregnant, not to say that it was like
akin to injury.
But the thing is, you're constantly changing. Like you said, first of all, hormones are insane. Like one day you're like, I feel amazing. And like I would do a TRX workout with some reformer and I'd feel amazing. And then you wake up the next day and you're so tired. that you can't even, you're like, there's no way I'm doing it. I'm not leaving this couch. Like, you know,
Yes.
and then me being me, it's like, oh, but I must work out. Like, this is who I am. I do that.
Right.
Like, oh, but I'm
That
also
identity. Yeah.
my body. So in itself, that was a huge challenge. But again, really great, like learning and growing experience, you know, the whole thing. Even still now, like, you know, I think I almost fit some of my old clothes. Some of them I'm like, wow, these are really small. Like I probably will never wear these again. But it's just funny, you know, I think I really realized, not to say I don't pay attention to what I look like. Obviously you do, but it's not until you put your body through some kind of like being pregnant, like a big life-changing experience, physical experience,
Traumatic experience.
noticed certain things that I'm now like, hey, that's different. Like, okay, you know, so it's just finding ways to own that, which has been, you know, really fun and exciting in its own way.
Right. And I mean, just hearing you talk about it for the last, like, you know, through this conversation, there's still such a focus on performance, what my body can do, what my body feels like, as opposed to what it looks like. I'm from that same place. It's like, I want my body to be able to perform. It's great that it looks great, but if it looked awesome and couldn't perform, I would be in just as much of a funk as if it was the other way around, right? So,
Harold.
Hey, Harold.
Funny because I think at first I came in from the wrong perspective. Like you kind of just said, I think it was more like, probably like most women, it's like, okay, let's lose the baby weight, you know, like let's do it. Or how long will this take? You know, what do I need?
The countdown's on. When can I get back into my pre-baby jeans, right?
To me, you know, and everyone has to learn this on their own, but it's like you kind of just need to let it be. And I really quickly changed my perspective on that because I was like, I did care about what my body can do. Obviously, like we've said, I came from being such a strong mover, and then to obviously go through pregnancy, like, you know, your body totally changes. You have no pelvic floor, you have no core strength. I remember the day after I gave birth, I was like, I can't get up. Like it feels like there's nothing here. Like I needed to hold up, which of course some of you might be like, yeah, obviously, Kelsey. But I'm telling you, for me, that was like, pardon? I can't get up. I can't even hardly walk to the bathroom. Like this was, so for me, my mentality quickly shifted from how fast can I lose my baby weight to, hey, let me take this opportunity to actually, for the first time ever, work the system from start to there's no real finish, you know, just let's start at the beginning. And you know what? Now I can move properly. As I've said 5 times, I'm sure I can do those small things that I couldn't do before, like keep my legs together when I'm doing anything prone, like little things like that that are actually huge wins. And so I feel like I did it, and I'm still doing it the right way, you know?
Yes.
Oh, I can just see my baby.
Oh, yeah. I love how you just said, there she is.
That's my mom.
She's on the line. There she is, yeah.
Hi, say hi.
So cute. I love how you said from start to no real finish.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's true, right?
That's a quotable right there. Yeah.
Live and breathe. Like every day is different. You know, you go for a long car ride and you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little tight today. You know, whereas yesterday maybe you didn't. And like, you know, it's really cool. Awesome. It's just so rewarding. Bring Edie on camera. Hey, Mom, do you want to bring Edie for a sec? Just for you, Alex, just because Alex asked.
Yes.
Just kidding.
This is the product of all the new changes and learning curve.
Say that again, Martin.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see the product of your learning curve of weight, right?
Everybody, here she is. Just kidding. Hi, cutie girl. Hi. Oh, you left the sock.
She did.
Hey.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Alex holding the on one side. Man, she's about, I'm going to guess she's about 17 or 18 pounds now. Yep. Hi. And exactly. So carrying her in the car seat, you know, it was heavy from the start. Like when she was a newborn, I was like, how am I going to do this when she gets bigger?
Right.
Now I'm like, ooh, let's do this, you know?
Yeah, all training. So cute.
Hi,
Other people's babies.
Yeah,
That's my one liner. Like, I love other people's babies, other
yeah,
people's dogs, and other people's minivans, but I don't want any of the above.
that's so funny.
Yes.
She's like, let me down. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Just gonna try and get my phone now. That's her whole thing.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Awesome. Well, Kelsey, it was so great catching up with you. Like,
yeah,
it's
so
just
nice.
been,
Thanks for having me. Finally,
yeah.
sooner, but talking about the mom cape stuff, I was like, how am I gonna be presentable on Martin's podcast or whoever when I'm like, you know?
Yes. And thanks to mom for giving you the gift of Pilates at 18, which helped you to get me into Pilates.
Another shout out.
Yes.
I'm really lucky.
Other people's boats. There you go. Other people's cottages.
Exactly.
The list goes on.
For me, it's other people's Pilates equipment. I'm like,
Yes.
when you see, like, I have a peak, I know we're probably over time now, but I have a nice peak reformer, but I tell people there's a difference. Like, you step on a Gratz, it's like, there's an Italian restaurant down the road, or you go eat in Italy and it's like, you know what I mean? Like,
That's
that
awesome.
authentic, like,
Yeah.
so good. That's what it's like for me when I step onto a Gratz, which is not often because no one has one around here.
Yes.
But when I go to Monica's,
Yeah.
at least, or your place, actually.
Well, this is Monica's equipment, so
Exactly.
yeah. So by the way.
Just supplying everyone with Gratz. It's amazing.
Yes. There you go. Awesome. Well, we'll continue to chat offline on text as we always do, but thank you for joining me here. This has been so
Of course.
fun.
Thanks so much for having me. It was so nice.
There you go. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. Alina, it's so good seeing you. Jean-Claude, thank you for jumping in. Joel Crosby, awesome as always. And yes, thank you to everyone else. Harold, I see you. Cool.
Harold,
All right, my friend. I know, right?
He
Okay,
trained
I
me
gotta get him.
for a little bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him into. I want to get him into Pilates, to teaching Pilates, not just taking a class.
Man,
I want to get.
I think he was going to. We were talking about it. He knows.
Yeah.
If he's still watching, he knows. He remembers.
Yes, no pressure.
Yeah.
We're grooming him.
I know.
Awesome. All right, there you go. All right, thanks again. Take care. See ya.
See you. Bye.